Got all the great fish that make great fish and chips.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish on Northwest. Duane England, Tommy Donlin. Here we are back in studio. Has it been a week already?
That's right. It has. It went really quick.
Holy smokes. I guess when you're out there on the water, Tommy, getting it done and having a great time, the week just
Time flies. Yes, indeed.
What a week it was, huh?
Yeah, it was excellent.
It's capped off by this morning. Me and the Beard got back out on the water today, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint.
I saw that.
There's some fish to be had, my friend, and with this tonight is kind of a recap of what you were exposed to last Saturday. We opted to go Saturday. Talked about last week on Thursday's show, and we got out on Saturday. Conditions, I'm telling you, you were served up on a golden platter, man. I mean,
yeah, it was.
Everything came together. We're going to delve into it deep tonight and talk to you all about how and why we found success, what Tommy took in from this entire experience, just putting it all together. And we've wrapped that up in a couple videos we're going to show this evening. A couple segments will be in videos, and we're getting into all that. But again, based, what we did Saturday and then what we're able to go back and kind of duplicate today, albeit completely different conditions.
Right. Yeah, and we're going to dive into that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We're going to dissect that because as we mentioned along the way when we're fishing Saturday, conditions change pretty quickly in the river environment, right? And you got to be able to adjust to those conditions. And so that's kind of what's been going on this week as we transitioned into even this morning, this transitioning to those conditional changes and how you still are able to find success. I think that's the key to successful river fishing, is adjust to your conditions daily and find ways and means to go out there and be successful. So we're going to break all that down before we get too deep here. But hey, I want to remind everybody, Fish on Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate, located in Puyallup, Washington. Of course, our good friends out there at Defiance Marine. Defiance Marine, manufacturers of the Defiance, the Arima, of course, the amazing Allied boat series. Check out everything Defiance Marine has going on at defiancemarine.com. And our good buddies, Tommy, over there at Phoenix Protective Corp, JC and the gang, phoenixprotectivecorp.com. If you are previous military and or police, please do yourselves a favor. Check out phoenixprotectivecorp.com and look for a future with them. Amazing company to work for. So with that, hey, also we got to remind everybody to jump over to our webpage.
Yes.
The webpage is up and going, has been for quite some time. Lots of great content over there. If I can find time, I'm going to get loading some fresh blogs on there. But man, time is of the essence anymore. So plenty going on over there. Lots of literature to read. Our buddy Ken Witt, who will be fishing with me tomorrow, the Hunting Dad, he has some really great blogs and stories on there. You can get to our online store via www.fishhuntnw.com. Check out all the online opportunities there within the store. And things are still, Tommy, believe it or not, 20% off. As of today, we still have inventory we're blowing out. Getting ready for that sportsman show, right?
That's right.
So, it was a very successful outing for us, and like I said at the beginning here, we're going to recap that through tonight's show, and just taking full advantage and opportunity of what Mother Nature gave us, timing, conditions, openings, all that. But hey, we want to know. There's been a lot of folks following us who have been out on the water this past week. And since some of these additional opportunities open in the coastal region here, October 1, we are a full week into it now. What have you guys been out doing? Not where you've been fishing, but exactly. But how have you been going about it? Are you out in the saltwater still? Are you still fishing Puget Sound or out here in the harbor? Are you chasing them into the tributaries of the main stems? How are you finding them? Are you finding more coho or chinook? And are you a bait fisherman? You like throwing spoons, you like throwing spinners, twitching jigs. What's been getting it done for you? Just pop it on here. 1, tell us where you're tuning in from. 2, let us know how it's been going for you. And 3, Tommy, of course, if they're struggling and difficulty in finding success with the abundance of opportunity out there that we have going on right now, let us know. Maybe we can give you some insight, talk a little about some things to try, maybe some means of changing up your game plan, help you find some success. So
well, and so I've got a unique perspective on that, right? Of coming from somebody that's never done a tributary, river fishery like we did this weekend. I've got a whole list of insights that I'm ready to share.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be awesome for those that are just getting into it because, you know, new set of eyes, new perspective,
right.
You know, trying to figure out what matters and what doesn't. We're going to dive into that here in a little bit.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to hear your perspective on the whole thing as you took it all in and absorbed that day and the success you found and just, you know, Tommy Donlan's takeaways. So running down the show for tonight, you know, fall salmon, as we've mentioned, is in full swing. If you're not swinging for the fences right now, you're missing out because it is on. And Team FHN hit the river this last week in a word, as we posted on our social media. It was flat out epic. So with that, we are bringing you tonight part 1, fall salmon bobber down, Team FHN on the water, part 1. Then we're going to bring it back in studio and we're going to dissect that. Basically, kind of the conditions we had. We're going to really delve into techniques we presented, what was working, specific types of bait that was getting it done compared to some other options we had with us, what jig patterns were getting it done. We're going to talk how that equates to what the flows were doing at the time and why we found success in what we were doing. And Tommy, your takeaways are going to be listed within that segment as well. So people need to stay tuned for that because you're really going to break it down, like you said, from fresh eyes perspective, right? Yep. Then we'll go ahead and bounce it out to part 2, fall salmon bobber down part 2. We had so much content we created within that one day. We couldn't just wrap it all up in one small package. So we're going to really spend some time breaking down this fall opportunity. And again, the emphasis here is to help you guys and gals find success on some of these main stems and tributaries. And then, of course, tonight the spotlight is on our good buddy Eric Braaten. Tommy, you remember Eric? He we spent a little time, Jordan and I, over there on the east side chasing turkeys with him in the spring and had a fantastic outing and very successful opportunity. Eric is jumping on with us tonight. He is a muzzleloader elk hunter. And successful in his own right, albeit this last 4 or 5 days he did not bag an elk this time, but he has some great insight that he wants to share with folks, and we are very curious about this whole muzzleloader thing. That's my next progression. I'm really looking forward to getting equipped and ready next year for muzzleloader elk. And so Eric's going to break it down for us. We're going to talk muzzleloader elk and things you need to know. And by the time you're done listening to him, you're probably going to get online, start doing your shopping, and figure out what you want.
And if you want a muzzleloader for next year, you should start looking now.
Absolutely.
Right? And those 209 primers, those two.
Yeah. Then we're going to close out the show with a couple topics that caught my attention this week. We got some restoration projects going on out here in the Chehalis Basin that are just absolutely fantastic. Where the money comes from and what it really means when you talk about habitat restoration and how that paints a black eye on social media. There's people kind of, complaining about this, and I'm like, why would you complain about this? We'll get into all that, and also a little program going on with our Lake Washington Sockeye, Cedar River Sockeye. Little extra emphasis on collection and how they're going about managing that fishery this season and to get egg take. This one caught me by surprise. I had no idea this was going on. Interesting stuff coming out of WDFW in the realm of Lake Washington Sockeye, Cedar River Hatchery, and what exactly is going on there. So lots of info to get through. If you got questions this evening, go ahead, post them up here. We're always looking for additional content to talk about. If you folks have some questions, we'd love to provide you answers if we can. So with that, Tommy, we're going to jump out for a quick break. Folks, don't go anywhere. Stick through the break. Part 1, fall salmon bobber down, part 1, when we come back right here at Fish Out Northwest.
Defiance Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
Today, the need for quality private security services is at an all-time high. Contract Security Service provides day-to-day peace of mind as they protect people and property. Here at Phoenix, we provide service for multiple state and federal contracts with services ranging from uniform, patrol, alarm monitoring, canine detection, executive protection, as well as investigative work. Phoenix client management models are built on understanding our clients' security needs and responding with a tailored program that is best fit for them. Phoenix provides excellent customer service through well-trained, highly motivated security professionals. Recruiting highly qualified officers is the first step in building a strong team. Currently, we are comprised of 70% prior law enforcement and military veterans. If you are prior military or law enforcement, go to www.phoenixprotectivecorps.com and apply today.
Bobber down, baby. We got bobber down.
I think this one. Called it. Called it. That should be. Up on bobber egg ever. I'm out here teaching Jordan how to fish.
Yeah, you are.
You know, he missed a few early, but I think we're going to get it figured out today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jordan, just watch what Tommy does.
Yeah, be all right.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Hey, you first.
Thanks, buddy.
Hookup's the first part. Now we got to get this thing landed.
Yeah. You're going to show us how to do that, right? Without a net.
You're going to show me how to do that.
Oh, I'm going to do it.
I may give you a little direction here. You're used to bringing them overboard, right? You're over the rail.
Well, I don't see any gaffs around, so I think the fish is safe.
Yeah, I think you're good.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah? Yeah? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, baby.
This is literally the first time you have fought a salmon
ever
in river current, right?
Right.
So it's a little different than chasing them around in a boat, for sure.
That's right.
Now that fish is going to run way down river. We're going to take that rod tip and put it down in the water. We're going to take it back up this way.
Right.
And you're going to turn his head.
Right. You got to get optimum angle on his head.
You'll actually turn that fish around and it'll come right back up. So you want to just put steady pressure on that rod and just take it way up past your right shoulder and reel down to the fish. And you'll see that fish start coming back up river. There you go.
He's a good fish now.
Yeah. Boys.
Yeah.
See how he's coming up?
That he is. Yeah, when you get the rod angle too high, you don't have the proper angle on the fish, right? So it's basically on top of his head.
They just want to go opposite.
From the side.
Yeah, they want to go opposite. They want to go down. You know, obviously go as deep as they can when you're up on top of them like this. Now you can raise your rod up and we can gauge. So there's our top shot. Fish is out there about 25 feet or so. We're going to back up now.
So what do you think about drag setting? You think you got about the right bend in this rod right now? Think a little light?
You tighten it up just a bit, right? The fish are strong.
Yeah.
The fish are brave.
Fishing 20-pound leader?
25 pound
25.
top shot. 25 pound leader because of their teeth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And even in the ocean, you know, we want to gear up big enough to resist abrasion.
Sure.
As they enter the river, their teeth get bigger.
Right.
Their teeth actually get bigger. They continue to grow. So.
And we're running Maxima, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ultra green. There you go. So when that fish gets into here, you're going to keep that distance. I like to stay about 10-12 feet away from the fish. Okay. And literally I just walk either up bank or down bank, and I bring that fish to the edge somewhere away from me. We can't reel right down under the bobber and think we're going to yard that fish right into the shore, right? So let's reel and walk this way. A little more room down here, not so far across. There you go. Keep reeling a little bit. there you go.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, buddy. So there
Yeah,
you go.
appreciate it.
That is a wild Chinook here, and we gotta let them go. So
Yeah, absolutely.
But there you go, your first river Chinook.
Awesome.
How'd you like it?
Thank you. That was freaking awesome.
Okay, so now notice we never really took her out of the water.
Yep.
We're in the shallows here. Her gill plates are still flapping. I like to get them up on their belly. Get out of the grass here in the clear water. What I want to do, Tommy, is I want to see those gills moving.
Yep.
Okay.
Make sure she's revived. She's
And
got
see,
oxygen.
she's pulling out of my hand, right?
Yep.
So once she wants
There
to
you go.
pull, we just let her go.
There she
And
goes.
she's swimming off nice and strong, not bleeding. You had her in the
Yeah.
corner of the mouth.
Beautiful.
Nicely done.
Awesome work.
Tommy Donlin. How was that?
That was excellent, man.
Perfect.
Let's do that again.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Duane England, Tommy Donlin. Fish on Northwest. We're out here on the water, buddy.
First time ever.
First time on a river.
Never done this.
Right.
Yeah.
And we waited till we got a little daylight here to get our intro going. But gosh, it started right out of the gate. I mean,
It did. They were rolling.
bobbers down right at daylight, right?
Yeah, pretty much. You were first cast, right?
Second or third cast, first bait.
I'm trying to give you a compliment.
Yeah, I know. But the bait's definitely working. We got a great day lined out here for us. We opted because it is Saturday. It's the beginning of October. The river is in prime condition. Water on the drop. Clarity's coming back. We got about probably 4 feet of visibility after that rain. We talked about the other night on the show, right? We're trying to decide when is it going to be conducive to get out on the water. Well, you don't wait too long. Water dropping is a great time to go.
And it's clear.
It's looking
I mean,
good.
the visibility looks great. What would you call this right now?
I say it's about 4 feet of viz.
Okay.
Which, you know, with the little stain to it is great. A little cloud cover this morning. We're gonna get sun today, which is fine. These fish will move all day. Water level's perfect. Clarity is just enough that, you know, presentation works. And the fish feel comfortable enough to keep moving all day based on volume of water, and it's not gin clear, right? So a lot of fish moving through here this morning. Bobbers are draining.
They are.
We're gonna be twitching jigs, throwing spinners. We're going to fish bait. We're gonna do all the stuff we can actually do out here and enjoy the day. Again, spend a day bank fishing.
Yeah.
It's a Saturday. If this was Wednesday, I'd be like, Tommy, we're taking the drift boat and we're gonna we're gonna have a great day. But we're gonna have a lot of traffic coming down this river today. I just know it's gonna happen. It's Saturday. It's the 1st of October. It's the way it goes.
Right. Right.
We're here to drain bobbers and land fish. So stick with us. We're gonna do this all day long. Here we go. It can be one after another. This is a nice coho. They do like eggs. Twitching jigs and whatnot, spinners, that's all great. And the coho on the egg bite, it's hard to beat. Really hard to beat. You can get into a ton of them when they're on the move. This is another nice little team. How do you like it, coho?
Bumps on it.
Yep. Get the through the nostrilla. Yeah. We're gonna keep one hatchery fish, so gotta wait till later in the day. But yeah, quality fishing here. Gosh, coho love eggs. Remember that. Nice coho. Ooh, that's a nice coho.
That is a fatty.
Is that a hatchery? That would be amazing.
1,
gosh. This cohort, beautiful.
Looks like a little baby coho. Like something Jordan would catch, you know? I'll take my coho for a walk here. Oh, what's going on there?
I looked and my bobber was gone.
And you're like, hey, maybe I should hit that. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Making it so I don't break the rod.
It's a wild fish.
Hey, don't kick my fish.
Don't break my rod.
That's why it was pointed straight at the fish there, buddy. You understand how that works? Why don't you bring some reel rods to the game?
Yeah, okay.
All right. There he goes. Boom!
Lots of coho in here, Tommy. Lots of coho.
I seem to be on a coho streak.
Yep.
There it is.
Up.
There it is.
You just have to come back and get it. This is a bright little fish. We get through the grass. Oh, nice one. There we go. Oh, come on. Look at those marks. That's crazy. Wild coho, go back. All them net marks. All right, guys, gonna take a little minute here and just talk about rigging and how we're basically presenting our eggs under a float today. So vertical presentation, you guys have heard me talk about this a number of times, shown the rigging in the bait lab, but for quick review, double hook, we got a 3/0 and a 1/0 stinger. I got my midpoint sliding weight here. I put it up against the bobber stop. Now remember, any weight above the hook has to be, based on rules, about 12 inches above your hooks, okay? And that's easy to do. And it's adjustable with that bobber knot, okay? So we got that midpoint weight, got our inline sinker, got a bead to protect the knot, got my slip float, and my indicator at top so I know when the float has completely bottomed out and it's against my stopper. And we have that Bomac rubber egg stop about 6 to 8 feet up the top shot. Now, there's a couple things here, and people often ask, like, why do you wear a bait box on your belt? And why do you have scissors on the top of your bait box? So you can cure your eggs up and prepare them for fishing any way you want. You can pre-cut them if you'd like. You can have them in bait trays like Tommy's utilizing today. I oftentimes will take skeins, cure it up, I put them in the box, I'll take a piece of skein out, and I cut it to size. So this is a bit of a smaller skein, but I can double it up. Here's my egg loop. I don't put it on the hooks. Now, you know, people can do what they want, but for me, I simply put it in the egg loop, okay? And that's basically it. It holds on there just fine. We'll get multiple casts out of that. And shouldn't be any issue with the bait ever coming out of the egg loop. The skein on the skein holds it intact. Now, one thing I want to do is I'm going to over exaggerate where this bobber stop is, okay? It's set to depth of what I've been fishing, but I'm going to slide this up the line, which is going to make that bait ride a little bit too deep in the water column, all right? So what I'm going to do is we're going to show you how this float, once the presentation gets down through the float will be dragging, and that'll be indicated by the fact that the float is pointing down river. So we're going to throw this out here, and once that line sinks down through, you'll see that that float is pointing down river. So that tells me that that bait is basically dragging on the bottom, okay? So when I see that, when I walk into a spot and I'm fishing, and looks like Tommy's hooked up again, of course. So when my float is pointing down river,
I know I'm fishing my presentation too deep. So now I'm going to come in here, I'm going to take this egg sinker, or this egg bobber stop, I'm going to slide that back down a couple feet. That makes my presentation shallower, okay? And I'll do that until I find the optimal depth. I want that float going through the water column straight up and down. Now, sometimes the top of the drift, the float might be downriver a little bit until it swings into the deeper part of the hole. So now we're completely vertical. Bobber is presenting straight up and down, and the bait is suspended off the bottom so it's not dragging, okay? And that's exactly what we want. So again, if your float is pointing downriver, bring it in, slide your bobber stop down the line, which makes the distance between your bobber and your bait presentation shorter. If it is completely vertical and you're not getting bit, perhaps the hole is deeper than you think it is, slide it up the line, which would increase the distance or the depth of your presentation, and you continue to do that till it hits the bottom, then you bring it back up about a foot and you're good to go. That's how you find depth, and that's how you know you're fishing in the proper zone.
Fish?
Yeah.
Sportco, an outdoor emporium, is the largest local outfitter in the Northwest since 1975, providing thousands of people affordable outdoor gear. This summer, make your next outdoor adventure more affordable by shopping at our warehouse-style pricing. We are a local Scotty dealer, offering sales, service, and repair. Located in Fife and Seattle, come visit us today. The outdoors await you.
It's easier than ever to browse homes and connect with an agent on the go with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate's mobile app. With the app, your home search is synced across all of your devices, so you can pick up your home search anytime, anywhere. Take full advantage of an enriched, mobile-optimized map search experience. Use location services to quickly find homes near you that match your search criteria. Draw your own map boundaries to find homes in a specific area, and apply layers to view school districts, neighborhoods, zip codes, and more. The app's user-friendly design makes it easier than ever to find a home you'll love. Narrow down your search results, save your search criteria, and save your favorite homes. You can browse your saved homes in a list view that puts photos and key details like price and square footage right at your fingertips. Or check out your saved homes displayed on the map.
Yep, for sure. Oh yeah, big fish. Yeah, buddy. Nice fish. Oh, beauty. Gorgeous fish.
Bobby's on the board.
We got a good one.
Oh yeah. Oh, oh, no, geez, come on.
Nice fish. Nice fish.
Hey, welcome back, Fish on Northwest. Duane England, Tommy Donlin here in studio. Nicely done.
Yeah,
buddy.
thanks, Coach.
Huh?
Yeah.
That was one hell of a day. Not going to lie.
That was.
That was something amazing. So now, hey, I want to bring this to you. Fisheries, What You Need to Know, presented by Better Homes and Gardens, Pacific Commons Real Estate. And Tommy, this is a fishery you need to know. And now that you know, you can't tell anybody.
I know. Yeah, the spot is very secret.
Yeah, I can't tell anybody.
That is the number one thing. Yes.
Let's kind of recap that, for folks just tuning in and kind of some of what we learned, some takeaways on that. But I'm going to start with, basically the start of your day. It comes down to conditions, and we talked about it last week on the show. As we were looking, we were getting the rain on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Wednesday, Thursday, we had that transitional period where, hey, rivers were on the rise, things were getting off color. Mm-hmm. Definitely still off color, far more than I wanted to take you out in on Friday. Mm-hmm. But knowing these drainages as I do and knowing the history of them and, some of these rivers just opened up and where we're going. And I'm like, I think I even told you, I go, well, if we give it one more day, we're going to hit it right at that optimal time of clarity where we could be out there on day one stuffing plugs and stuff in their face, or we could wait till we get a little more visibility. It's going to open up our opportunity of different presentations that I really want you to be able to do. It's one thing sitting in a boat on the troll. It's another thing when you're holding that rod and the fish hammers it.
Right.
It's one thing if you're sitting in a drift boat on anchor or working plugs down a seam and putting plugs in front of a fish and watching that rod explode in the rod holder, which can be exciting. It's too early in the year for me to start wanting to put plugs out in front of the drift boat, man. I want to cast, I want to twitch.
On.
Yeah, all hands-on approach. So, and as it worked out, the egg bite just didn't stop.
No.
We twitched up a few, but let's face it.
You're like, oh yeah, go pick up the jig. I'm like, no, I'm good. I still got a box of eggs here.
The egg bite just did not turn off that day, and we fished till about 2 o'clock or whatever. We were like, gosh, we've caught enough fish. We've kept our hatchery fish now.
Yep.
Finally, towards the end of the day, so it's time to pack her in. But the egg bite just didn't stop. So, the first fish, as we watched you work your way through and how to land that fish on a gravel bar. Trying to keep it in the water, trying to recognize, is it wild, is it hatchery, are we going to let it go, and the importance of reviving that fish until it pulls out of your hand. All those things we worked on first thing in the morning to start off on the right foot. And then the day just kind of unfolded for us, man. The bobbers kept draining.
It just picked up.
And the bait was working great. Now, I will tell you this. We recognized pretty early on, especially with those coho, and there was a good number of coho, and folks would ask, hey, what recipe or, what cure did you use? Because you got so many different cures. What cure did you use on those eggs? And I'm here to tell you, in August, when I demonstrated in the bait lab, taking those frozen block of eggs and putting them in that wet brine and adding that can of tuna in oil into that wet brine, that was it. That process of utilizing that wet brine to thaw those frozen eggs and cure them as they thaw, and then put them in the fridge, and then, I put them back in the freezer because we weren't going to use them. I pulled them eggs out, thawed them out, and cut them to bait sizes for you so you didn't have to deal with it. And you and Jordan were fishing those pretty much the entire day.
Yeah, pretty religiously.
And I had my other eggs that had some sardine, homemade sardine powder in them, and those were working first thing in the morning. But the coho really were latching on to those previously frozen, uncured, wet brined with tuna. For whatever reason, man, those coho were just tearing those up. Pretty soon we're all fishing those eggs, and the coho were just eating them up. So,
well, and the thing that I was really surprised about with the eggs is that, they're when you first get the skein out of the fish, it's really, fragile. It's really fragile. And what I was shocked to see is that, after using the Potskey's cure process, your process that you've developed over time, those eggs stayed in that loop. Like, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to last, maybe, one cast, and it's going to get down there, and I'm going to have to reel it back in. I'm going to need some more eggs. But no, you would get, depending, you would get maybe, 4, 5 casts. I mean, if you didn't get hit, right?
Yeah, if you didn't get hit.
We had some periods of time there where it was just one after the other. But
nonstop. Fish were on the move. River was at about 1,400, maybe 1,500. As stated in the video, we had 4 feet of visibility and continued to clean up as the day progressed. And we got through the morning there. We had full sun on the water, got to 4 or 5, moving towards 6 feet of visibility. The ideal conditions, though, water's dropping, fish are coming out of the salt, and because of the little bit of stain in the water versus gin clear and the level of water, as I had alluded to, those fish are going to keep moving all day. And we would see it. We would see fish start boiling down the tail out. Hey, they're coming. Pretty soon they come through like a freight train. Bobbers are draining. People are hooking up. We're releasing fish. Might hit a lull of 5, 10, 15 minutes sometimes. Right. Boom, then all of a sudden another batch of fish. The thing is, we're not just sitting on a hole beating on old dark fish,
right,
trying to get one of them to bite to simply catch and release it. These are fish that are on the move. We're watching fresh fish move in. We got fish coming in with sea lice on them, and they're very snappy, right? And we didn't really have to change the other methods because the bait presentation just kept working so well.
It did. Yep.
Before I jump into what conditions in comparison we had this morning in the same general area, I want to know your top 4 or 5 takeaways from that day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the first thing that I really noticed, because I was watching, you know, never having done this before, you know, I'm watching you to see, okay, you know, how is Duane, how is he casting, how is he mending his line? And I mean, like, the first thing that I noticed is that, you know, you were mending your line in such a fashion where there was no slack really between your rod tip and that bobber. So when the bobber went down, you're reeling down to it,
right on,
and then it's just a nice steady pull, right? I was noticing with mine, it was like, man, I was trying to mend, and it wasn't mending, and I'm like, what the heck's the difference? And so I'm looking at yours, and I see all this spectra, you know, going to the float and this short top shot, and then I realized that, like, the rod that I was using, I had like, I don't know, 25 feet of mono on there, and it's just like super heavy, right? And the water's dragging it down. And you know, and then, you know, you two clowns, of course, you and Jordan were like, oh, no, you're fine. Oh, the top shot's perfect. No, I'm catching fish. You should be catching fish. I'm like, get out of here, man. And so we brought it in. Man. We brought it in, and we took all that mono off, right?
I took about 10 feet off for you.
No, it was about 50. Anyway,
no.
We took a bunch of mono off so that I didn't.
You won't believe me if I tell you that I had the same exact length of top shot on yours.
Yeah, after you took my top shot off. So anyway, tell you what.
Okay.
If you here's the lesson learned though. If you got it's not your turn to talk yet. So you got to wait a second here. So you know that if you have too much mono in there, it's super heavy, right?
It drags down and sinks.
And it drags it down and it sinks. And there's no way you can get that slack out of the line. And I would tell you that it's the same situation as when you are kite fishing in Florida and you're using super heavy mono and you're using a pilchard out there and it's going through the kite clip and down to the water. You've got all this line hanging down that's creating weight. So you actually have to go to a lighter monofilament. Instead of using 30 pound there, you got to go down to 20, right? It's got to be light. And it's the same thing.
Drag.
As you've got to get rid of that drag. So, you know, mending the line. And so after that, I was really conscious of, you know, how much line is there? Where is the line relative to the float? And then just making sure it's completely mended. So when that bobber goes down, it's a couple cranks and we're on.
Yeah, you're hooked up. Yeah, you're not having to collect a bunch of excess line. One of the biggest failure points, and good for you to pick up on that, is folks will let their bobber get down below them, and they just keep letting line spool off of their reel, or if it's a spinning reel, they're you know, flipping line out, and they let that downriver line belly, because that braid floats, they get that downriver line belly pulling past the float, a big loop. The other thing that does, especially if their float is in slower water than the mid current seam, that water against that line friction will push and drag that bobber unnaturally faster through the water it is in than the water that the line is in, if that makes sense. So mending line is important. I always try to keep it within a foot or two of the float so I don't disrupt or, you know, change the angle or direction, and or I'm not falsely holding back the float. I'm not speeding up the float by letting too much line drag the float downriver. So it's one of those learned curves that once you get it nailed, you can see the difference. So for sure. What else you got?
You know, so the next thing is you have to be able to read the water, right? And so, you know, knowing where the seam is and knowing where that hole is going to be, finding the slower moving water and then where the water picks up speed. I mean, that one hole that we were fishing, you probably had a 3 to 5 foot area where if you didn't lay your bobber in that 3 to 5 foot area, you just weren't going to get bit.
Sure.
Right? Because it wasn't going to travel the right path, down to where that hole was. So I think that's really important to be able to make observations of how the water's moving, and then, knowing where the holes are, right, too. I mean,
one great way to indicate where that actual hole is the drop off in ledges, right? So we set our float to a certain depth, and when you cast to the top end of that hole, and your bobber is pointing downriver a little bit, like I showed in the video, over exaggerated that depth, it's okay if you're not getting hung up, because based on the way the hole is set up, that once that bait clears and drops into the deeper part of that hole and pendulums off that edge, you're going to be to depth of where the fish are. Now, if you're dragging up top, and let's say it's 6 foot and you're dragging, and your hole drops in at 9 feet off a ledge, and you go, well, I'm dragging up top, so I set my bobber to 5 feet because I don't want it to drag. I am 4 feet above those fish when it gets over the meat of the hole, right? So we use our bobber indicator to denote drops in depths and also, different contours of the bottom. And then it's kind of like, well, I'm gonna weigh the odds. I'm gonna drag up top because I know it's gonna pendulum in the meat of the hole, and that's gonna be the depth that those fish are gonna be at. And that's exactly how that hole fishes, along with many others. Once you get that figured out, you're gonna be on the fish.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Say another thing I learned is, and you guys, because you knew that I never have done this fishery before, you're like, oh, well, this guy must not know how to cast, so let's give him a spinning reel, right? And I tell you what, I don't care if you got to use a spinning reel, you got to use a spinning reel. But in terms of fighting the fish, a spinning reel coffee grinder is possibly, the worst thing that you could have in fighting a fish, right?
Unless you're twitching. Yeah, I agree. That's why I use bait casters.
Fighting a fish.
Yeah.
Conventional is always better. And then I said, give me that bait caster. I mean, well, it wasn't exactly like that. I mean, I broke the one rod because I was like, I got to get rid of this thing. Duane wants me to keep fishing it. How do I get rid of it? I'm just going to break the thing. And so I did.
Yeah, so he did. And boy, did you break it. Yeah.
And so, you know what, though? Going to the bait caster, I would say, lesson learned, just spend your time working with a bait caster, getting really good with that, and use that, because that is way more ergonomic to fight a fish with than a spinning reel. Now, the other thing that I'll say, and I even asked you on those bait casters, and you'll see them in the video, they're just like, man, they're tiny, right? But they got 25, 30 pounds of drag. They're just built. But I asked you, I'm like, man, these are great. Do they make them for men?
Yeah.
Because the handles are tiny on those things.
Oddly enough, though,
my hands, my bare paws are just a little bit bigger than your little tiny hands.
And Jordan would tell you this too. I am running the Abu Garcia Revo Beast, which is one of the larger bait casters available for this type of fishing. I mean, literally is one of the biggest reels I've ever used. And it is plenty big for what we're doing, and I don't need that oversized handle on there.
I do.
It has 22 pounds of drag. It's a phenomenal reel. I've been using them for years. One of the best reels I've ever used. And it is an upside. They call it a beast for a reason. It is an oversized reel that, for good reason. I got 40 pound or 50 pound braid on them. I run a 25 pound top shot. I'm running 20 or 25 pound leader. When I hook into these Chinook in rivers that you actually can't keep them, I want to get these fish in and let them go.
Yep.
So I am gearing up to be successful and release fish unharmed, and it works, right? So I know you joke about the difference of our gear on the river compared to what you're used to on the saltwater, but there's really no comparison.
I'm not making fun of it.
Break, right?
I need a handle that fits in these these big meaty hands that I got.
What did you find the difference? Fighting the fish and just ergonomically comfort in that rod. Plus the rod that is on is 10.5 foot. The other rod you're using is 9.5 foot, which makes mending line a little more difficult with the spinning rod. The other thing too is the line coming off the spinning reel compared to the bait caster. When you're float fishing, to let it on a good smooth operating reel, to be able to allow that line to pay out smoothly versus a spinning reel, you're constantly trying to get it off the spool, right?
Right.
Went away from those years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you can see the difference. There's the reason I started you off on the spinning rod. You had to graduate to the big boy club. So what's your final note there?
No, I mean we've kind of covered this, but you really gotta go to know, right? You've got to, in order to learn these rivers, you just have to go and experience them. And I mean, I think the best way to do that, if you're new to a river, I think the best way to do that is probably to take your drift boat down it and, you know, investigate all of the different holes and kind of learn the holes. But, you know, one of the other things that, you know, you talked about, because I was asking, well, like, when do you run a bobber egg, you know, setup versus when do you bobber dog it, right? You know, and what you said was, well, like, hey, if you're drifting down the river and you're not sure, you know, how deep the holes are or what the certain, you know, what they look like, you bobber dog it, right? Because now you've got a presentation that's near the bottom in the strike zone and you're not as worried about it. But if you get a feel for, okay, we're on the bank, you know where the hole is, you've got some time to adjust that stop, you can really dial in the bobber eggs, and so it swings into that hole perfectly.
Yep.
You know, so that was just another thing that I learned. And then, you know, I saw, you know, Jordan's jigs, and you're like, oh, you know, twitch the jigs, and I'm like, dude, well, we got bait left, we got eggs,
we still
eggs
got
left.
bait.
You know, I can't leave something that's successful, right?
That's working so well.
But I mean, you guys got them on jigs too, and I mean, I don't know. When I look at those jigs, I just can't wait to go back to Rufus Woods.
Oh, I know.
That's what I see.
Well, to get a coho on those jigs is every bit as enjoyable as those big fish at Rufus Woods
for sure.
as well.
Yeah.
And now that you bring that up, you know, today it couldn't be polar opposites or 180 degrees opposite, whatever you want to say. Compared to our conditions last week to what Jordan and I experienced today, river was at half volume, almost gin clear. The clarity was like forever, right? So much smaller water, much higher visibility. The egg bite wasn't happening first thing in the morning, which I kind of expected. So we are getting fish moving through the hole, and yep, sure enough, reactionary bites on twitching jigs and, of course, casting spinners across the current seam and dragging them slowly through the holes where the fish were kind of piling in. These fish were on the move to the point where they're busting water down the tail out. You see them coming in. The coho are jumping. They get into the hole. We're catching fish. And then as they continue to move, you know, I'm recognizing, hey, I got a nice little current seam up top there. You want to talk about the bobber dog and or when you're standing idle, float drifting, because we're drift fishing with a float. I love the opportunity to take that piece of running water, much like steelhead water when you have traveling coho, and put those eggs on there naked, nothing else, no corky, no nothing, simple eggs in your bait loop, under a bobber dogging setup or float drifting with a stick lead, throw it up in that current seam and let it just tap on through. And that was also very successful in getting to the coho today once the bait bite took off. So, you know, drastic change in conditions. And you kind of just said it, you won't know this until you get out and experience it. So if we went with the mentality today of what worked Saturday when we were out fishing, we're like, nope, we're just fishing bait. We're setting our depth because we know what the depth is, and we're just going to do it. And now I'm just dragging bottom all day, and I can't get bit, and I can't figure out what's going on. It's because I have a drastic change in conditions, and I have to adjust to those conditions. And it may be more than just fishing my eggs in a more shallow presentation under my float. It may be completely switching up to technique, as in twitching jigs, casting spinners with hoochies on them, those types of things. And the only way you learn that is by time and time again, be out. Never stop looking at your conditions prior to the day you plan on going fishing. Watch the weather multiple days prior to, know when the rain's coming, check your river forecast, check your 10-day outlook, understand how much rain we're getting, project where your river's going to go. Try to align your sick days when you are on the drop. I'm kidding. Try to align your fishing days when you're on the drop, ideally, right, in a stabilization of barometric pressure, and you're going to heighten your opportunity for success every time. That, and follow a lot of my blogs and some of our videos on how-tos when it comes to curing bait. Guys struggle with bait, Tommy, and for the life of me, I don't understand why. We've been doing this for 15 years, putting out tons of videos on the how-tos, and dial in your bait program. So if you're still struggling with your bait, you know, rewind, go back into some of our content from the past couple of years, go into our Potski's page and all the blogs and all the how-to videos that we've been posting over there forever. And if there is a bait cure method that you need and haven't found yet, let me know, because I got a ton of them out there in all different types of baits and cures. So it's just all, you know, it's pulling it all together to find success, really. So it was a fantastic day. I was so glad to get you out in our world in that regard, much like when we spend time with you out on the salt. It's just making us more well-rounded, you know, of a team. So anyway, questions, comments, concerns, go ahead, hit us up here. Somebody got the Hawks score, let us know. Lots of folks popping in here. Hey, you guys are competing with the Hawks. I said, yeah, I know. We set our schedule first. We'll just leave it at that. All right, that was Fisheries, What You Need to Know. We're going to jump out for a quick break. Coming back to you in our backyard, part 2, Bobber Down, Fall Salmon Bobber Down, part 2. Yes, Tommy D in the house. Coming to you right after this break here at Fish Hunt Northwest.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water.
End of Watch Ride to Remember is a group from the state of Washington traveling across the country to honor fallen officers from 2019. End of Watch organizer Jagrut Shah says they want to show departments who've lost partners and friends they are not alone.
I wanted to bridge this gap that we have and bring back to the department, let the deputies or the officers know that their lost has not been forgotten.
In 2019, 146 officers were killed in the line of duty, and End of Watch Ride to Remember is on a mission to pay their respects to each of them.
For us, it's just important realizing that the men and women in blue everywhere should remember that they haven't been forgotten. We're not forgetting them. We want the families to know that their loved ones have not been forgotten.
More.
Bobber down. Bobber down, baby. We got bobber down.
I think this one. Called it. Called it. That should be. Got another freshie on our hands. Dude, if you can get that glob of eggs in the right spot, they just hammer it every time. like to meet my pet salmon?
Hatchery.
Another hatchery.
Another hatchery fish?
Yep.
Okay, flip her over. There we go.
Perfect.
Look at that.
Hold that one up. How about that, man? That is just awesome. Look at that. Fatty.
All right, back you go. Let's give you a little color. Hatchery fish, go figure. Yeah. Another hatchery Chinook. She's got a little stain to her, but not hurt. Ready to go. There you have it. Hatchery Chinook. Back in the river. Sasquatch. Looks like a little Chinook. It's a bright one.
Drop for you.
Right in the chin.
Chinny chin chin.
Yeah. Boy, it's a bright fish. Cool. Yeah.
You got to be really good at casting, because you've got, I don't know, you've got about like a 3 foot to 5 foot swath where you're trying to lay that bobber in, and if you're not in it, you're just not getting bit. Yep. So welcome back. There we go.
He was fishing. He got a little jack on his first cast. Nice fish.
Whoa.
There we go.
Right in the nose.
bit too. Look at that hen.
Beautiful.
Huh?
Beautiful.
Right in the snout.
Right in the upper lip.
Yeah. There we go. Hooks out.
There we go. Mind if I hand that to you for a
Look
second?
at that fish, huh?
Not bad, huh?
There's down there.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, he wanted to go.
Yeah. See how fresh that fish is. Wild coho.
A small fin.
Real small fin.
Look how small that fin is.
Yeah, it's intact though.
Yep.
That tiny little fin is fully intact, so that is a wild fish in these regulations. So there you go. Nice. There's a hatchery hen. Oh, that is what we're after right there. There we go. See how bright that fish is, Tommy. That thing is still got some purple in the gills. I mean, look at that thing. Sea lice. Look at that fresh sea lice. These things are marching up the river. All right, well, that's a hatchery fish, so we're going to keep her. There we go. Well, Thomas,
amazing day, brother. Thank
here
you
we
so
are.
much.
I mean, we're at a 1 fish retention limit here, hatchery fish only for this particular fishery, which that's fine. You know, we just catch and release fish for a while until we finally get a decent one you want to hang on to.
Right.
And you can keep a jack also. We turned back a number of jacks this morning, but finally at the end of the day, hey, let's keep a jack or two, whatever. So, but the end result, I mean, this is what happens on these tributary fisheries when all the stars align, right? We talked about water and weather conditions last Thursday on the show, talked about looking into the weekend, what day we decide we're gonna go. The only audible we called this morning was we left the drift boat at home, and we came into an area we got access to, did some bank fishing, and it paid off.
Right. Well, and credit to you because, you know, part of this game, right, is knowing the specific river system, knowing exactly, you know, what time of year you're in, knowing which rain of the year you've had, how hard the rain was, and then correlating that with your cubic feet per second, what the flow is for that river system. And then you're going to know how that river's going to drop in and what the clarity is going to be, right? Yeah. And I think you called it perfectly.
Yeah, we got here this morning. We were brushing 3 to 4 feet of viz. Now it's probably closer to 6. You know, continued to clean up as the day went on. Sun popped out about 10 a.m. Didn't matter. The water, the hole where these fish stage up in for a little bit is deep enough. They feel pretty comfortable, and the egg bite was on all day. We twitched up a handful of coho.
We did.
We did. But you know, the egg bite for both Chinook and coho here, we released probably 6 hatchery Chinook because you can't even keep hatchery Chinook in this system, which is very disappointing. But you know, I get it. Eventually, hopefully, we get back there. And these fish are healthy, man. They fight. You let them go, they take off. You know, we just it is what it is. But the egg bite on these coho on this system can't be overlooked. Twitching's great, spinners work. When the egg bite's on, I'm sticking with the bobber and egg.
Well, I don't know what myth. I mean, you kind of educated me a little bit that there was a little bit of a myth associated with coho and an egg bite. I did not witness that today.
No.
It seemed like the coho were chewing the hell out of those eggs.
Yeah, they do like them.
They loved them.
Some systems more so than others. And again, knowing, they're still out
there's
there.
Another one.
Knowing your systems, knowing your tributaries, which river systems in and of themselves, the coho respond to eggs, and this is one of them. Okay, historically, year in and year out. I mean, if they're not on the egg bite, okay, great, you're gonna know right away. But these coho were biting on eggs all day, intermixed with a Chinook every now and again. It was just a fantastic day, and there are a lot of coho in this system. I would say today's representation of the coho was pretty much a 50-50 split, hatchery and wild.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of hatchery fish in the system. I'm hoping we get some type of in-season adjustment here. I don't know if we're going to. Typically, historically, sometimes yes, other times no. Kind of depends who's calling the shots here. So
right.
A lot of fish in the system right now. Water's going to continue to drop. We don't have any real rain coming in for the next 10 days or so, but that can change, you know, and it doesn't take much, man. A little bump, a little freshet of water, and the fish come stomping in. So still a ton of fish out in the salt, still a bunch of fish out in the ocean, and they're working their way here. So this is just the front edge. We're at the first weekend of October, and the fishing was fantastic. You, my friend, landed countless numbers of Chinook and coho,
absolutely,
a bobber and eggs.
Yeah.
You know, once you replace that rod that snapped, we're good, right? We're all good.
You know, I'm used to using rods that were designed for men.
Right.
And I think that rod just could not handle my big bear paws.
That's probably it.
And
a
so
little more finesse.
That's probably
you know,
it.
gotta.
You know, I mean, the fish wasn't even that big.
No.
You know.
No. Well.
So hey, what can you do? But you know, no, I got to thank you because I've never done this before.
Yeah.
And I learned a ton. You know, just about, you know, how to read the water.
Yeah.
Where you're looking to set your line in. Your bobber in.
Yeah. And the quality of fish. I mean, these coho are in great shape.
They are. Look how chrome they are.
Being up here in the tributary, you know, they're got fresh sea lice on them and scales coming off of them. And I tell you, get that shot of rain, these fish are moving, so you got to get on it. And we did today. And man, thanks for coming out.
You bet. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic day all the way around. The Veer did a phenomenal job in his own right, landed plenty of fish, and got all this on camera for you guys. So can't wait to bring it to you. Anyway, all right, buddy.
All right.
I think it's time to clean some fish and get out of here.
Let's do it.
We'll do that, and we'll jump out for a quick break. We'll see you back in the studio.
Well, there you go, buddy. That kind of wraps it up, huh?
Hell of a day. Thank you.
Couple folks got some good comments on here. Appreciate you guys chiming in and weighing in on what it is we're out there doing. And yes, all important, Tommy, as you know, we emphasized and we really worked hard to not just yard those fish up onto the gravel, let them flop around, beat themselves up on the rocks, and then try to decide if it's a hatchery or wild fish. Is it a hatchery coho we can keep? You know, I really put emphasis on trying to keep them at water's edge and not allow them to smack their heads on rocks and things like that, and get control of that fish and unhook it and release it unharmed if that's what we intend to do. And I think we demonstrated that time and time again there on how you correctly do that, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, and I got to say, I mean, it was pretty easy to tell before the fish even got, you know, close to the bank, right? I mean, you can look in the water and see that fish swimming and call adipose or not. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah,
right?
and you should at this point be able to tell a Chinook from a coho. But if you are new to fishing, I get it. You know, typically our coho are going to be substantially smaller than a lot of the Chinook you are catching, and at times, you know, hey, you can pull in an 8-pound Chinook that's chrome bright and think it's a coho, and before you go and bonk it, first of all, does it not have an adipose? Secondly, check that gum. Check those gums for black or white, and make your determination. Don't get caught up in that mess. So appreciate you guys chiming in here. Yeah, we had a lot of fun making that video, and we continue to try to bring that outdoor content to you each and every week we get out on the water. That's our intent, to bring not just, you know, guys out there having a great time high-fiving to rock music and catching fish, albeit that would be great, but we want to make sure we bring some key learning points in there, and I hope, you know, hopefully that's what reigns through, is some of that stuff that we like to bring to you, that it's educational and entertaining as well. So, okay, buddy, with that, we are going to jump out for a quick break. We come back, time to dial it into the other passion we have, and that is getting after some ungulates. And our good friend Eric Braaten has been out in the woods this past week, muzzleloading for elk, and if you have not done it and or are considering, stick around through the break. Eric has it dialed. He's got a lot of really insightful information he's willing to share, and you'll want to hear it from him. We come back right here at Fish Hunt Northwest.
Allied boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Deep V 21-degree dead rise at the transom guarantees a smooth ride no matter the conditions. Allied offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Allied boats range from 19 to 32 foot in length, so no matter what type of heavy gauge boat you are looking for, we have it for you. All of our Corsair 21 foot and larger designs come standard with reverse chine that is welded inside and out with no extrusions below the waterline, so that you will never have to worry about corrosion problems down the road. Get out on the water today in a boat that you can trust and enjoy with Allied Boats. Contact us at Allied Boats today to learn much more about our incredible fishing machines.
New days, new beginnings, new friends, new loves, new dreams, new goals, new scenery, new job. No matter what the next chapter holds, Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate will be there to help you find the new that's right for your lifestyle at any stage of your life. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. Expect better.
Hey, welcome back in studio. Duane England, Tommy Donlin. This little segment, little change up here, Tommy. This is what I'm going to refer to as the Gun Lab, much as we did last week with you. This is the Gun Lab presented by Max Lure. Go figure that one out. Anyway, our good buddy Eric Braaten waiting patiently, and you know, smart man, because at the break he told us he is recording the Hawks game
and watching
our show, which is exactly what everybody should be doing if you got your head screwed on straight. Anyway, Eric, out of the woods recently and back home in time to spend a few minutes this evening talking with us. How you doing, man? Is it good to be home, or you wish you're still out in the woods?
I had to come home and work, but man, I wish I was still up there. It's just so nice to be hunting, you know, and I went solo, and it actually was very enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
But my buddies, I was hunting some private property and some public land for like 4 days, and lots of elk sign. My buddies were hunting some of that same ground during archery, and they were showing me all these pictures on the cams of these big bulls, and it's like, you just know that muzzleloader season's coming. My time's coming, you know.
Yeah.
So it was really, I was looking forward to just getting up there and trying it, you know, and seeing if I could put something together. But dry conditions. I mean, we need some rain over here, and it's really been kind of an unseasonably warm, and it's changed things. All of our wallows dried up. You know, a lot of things have happened because it's so dry, and so those elk have adjusted and gone to other locations.
Oh, yeah.
Just made it more difficult. So rain is the lack of rain. You know, we're in a drought right now. We need some more rain. So
you kind of mentioned some of the information or intel you got from buddies who were out archery, elk sign and whatnot. Following you on social media, I know you posted up a picture of a good, you know, wallow. You also had some other elk sign around. Were you moving around a bit? I think I saw you had popped in a tree stand. So let's just start off talking about how much area were you actually covering? Did you pretty much hunt same terrain, same area most days, or did you move around a lot, or did you stay stationary anchored in a tree stand?
So a lot of my muzzleloading areas I've learned over time, just like, you know, fishing spots or anything else. And it's, you know, it came during muzzleloader deer hunting, you know, or rifle deer hunting late, and you run into elk up in the northeast corner of the state or over in Okanagan or, you know, even in the ag lands down in the central part of the state, you know, versus, you know, going to the Clackamas or the Yakima area. Or it's, you know, it's similar type hunting, but you'd find these pockets of elk. We have pockets of elk all over eastern Washington, and in a lot of the private land, public, you know, areas that, you know, they kind of intermingle, you can actually find some decent private land elk hunting too. So where I was actually on public land for a couple days up in Okanagan, and was on some elk sign up there. And a buddy of mine had actually taken a video of a bull early when he was looking for deer, told me about it. And so I went up there and kind of put stuff together and found a couple wallows and the rubs, and I posted a lot of that stuff, you know, and then never could put it together. But then I popped over to my buddy's private land, and they have 17 cameras up with that the Cuddy Back link system is just phenomenal. We have it's cellular, so it goes right to our emails when one of the cameras gets triggered. But you have like a home camera, and then you can put another camera within 150 yards, and it does a big circuit throughout the whole property. And so it was just really kind of a cool way of scouting without even, you know, putting your scent out there. And so they use that stuff during the archery season quite a bit, and knowing which you get a report every day with this Cuddy Back link stuff. And it's actually phenomenal. It shows you how many pictures are taken per camera. And so you know which hot camera you have or the hot zone. It's easy to kind of dissect and put, you know, where to put a street stand and stuff. And so we go up there during turkey season, and we start working on the property. We start, you know, figuring stuff out, cutting limbs, putting up tree stands, looking for a sign, you know. I mean, so we start early in the year, and then in June we actually are up there doing stuff. And so it's you know, I kind of go up and help them out just so I can have a place to hunt, you know. So it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
talk to us, Eric, a little bit about your muzzleloader setup. What kind of muzzleloader do you have? And then, you know, I think the big question, because we cannot put scopes or optics on our muzzleloaders here in Washington State, talk to us about your sights. Like, how did you pick your sights, and what are some of the really nice features that you like about your muzzleloader?
So, yeah, you're right. There's if you like, you know, technology has come full circle. When I first started, you know, you had the old TC Hawkins, you know, and the old 54 caliber octagon barrel, you know, at the spitball. And I mean, that's what all my buddies had. And they were doing the late season elk hunting back in the 80s and 90s. And, you know, that was kind of the cool part about muzzleloader back then. And so when I got into it, I was actually looking at, you know, maximizing my points. I had like, you know, 18 points for bull elk or something, and I was trying to get, you know, the odds. I was putting in for bull elk permits, and so just trying to figure that out. But I ended up getting a Night Bighorn. It's been a really great muzzleloader. I've had a CVA, but this one I really fell in love with because it came with the thumb hole stock. So I got a composite stock on it, but it's a 50 caliber muzzleloader. I got I kind of shoot a different type of breech plug that it's got an opening for a musket cap. So I have a flamethrower nipple, which is a little bit bigger, and I use musket caps. And muzzleloaders have progressed over the years. You know, it started out with like, you know, flintlock and, you know, and then number 11s, you know, that's what everybody's using, caps. And now they went, you know, musket caps were better than the number 11s because you had more flash into the pan, you know, with the new stuff. And you couldn't use, the 209 primers. Now they're legal. So there's lots of options out there now. The CVA's lineup has some, the white muzzleloaders have some, but I love the Bighorn, and I don't even know if they make it anymore, but it's been really good to me, and I've just got accustomed to using it a lot. So the load I use is I use powder, so I use a 777 powder, and I use 90 grains of it, and I use a 300 Hornady SST bullet with a Sabo, and it's been a really good load, and it's accurate out to 100 yards. And, you know, a lot of guys tried the pellets and stuff, and I found that it was a faster. My gun just shot better with the powder, so I've always stuck with the powder. But you can get now they have the pellets are normally in 50 grain, you know, pellets, or you can now get them in 30 grain, so you can actually dial in a specific load for the pellets now, and they have different makes, and technology just kind of catching up with, you know, the muzzleloading world and making them more like rifles, you know, which kind of takes the primitive side out of it. But, you know, you get that extra benefit, you know, after archery season, you know, with getting that extra distance. So, you know, I still hunt like I'm an archery hunter. I try to get as close as I can. But,
sure.
You know, sitting at a tree stand, it's nice to know that you can actually shoot 100 yards if you need to, you know. And
yeah.
Down in the blues, you might be across a canyon, and so it's nice to, you know, practice out there. I shot a whitetail at 150 yards down there on a 2-cannon tag that I had a few years ago with that same muzzleloader, and the sight I use is a Williams peep sight. And the biggest thing with the peep sight, you know, they're pretty standard, and you can get a certain eyepiece that's a certain size. They have different size eyepieces, so you can have a bigger arbor to see through. But the trick with that sight was the fiber optic front sight, and the night rifles made a really small diameter. It was different than the standard one that you bought with the gun. It's actually a really small diameter front sight, so it didn't cover the deer. You know, at 100 yards, you could actually see the deer still. You know, and that's part of the problem with some of them. Now they have bullseye sights and some different stuff with technology now, but that's my setup. I have a peep sight with a Duane's peep sight. It's got windage and you know, an elevation adjustment, so I can really sight it in and get it accurate with that load, and it's just nice to have.
You've really piqued my interest now, Eric, on the powder. So I reload and for rifles, right? Yeah. And so, you know, for me, 1/10 of a grain can be, you know, the difference between, you know, an inch group and a 1/4 inch group. And so, you know, I'm just curious, when you dialed in and you said you got to, I think you said 90 grains of powder, how did you go about that process of finding the right amount of powder? And when you were sighting in your muzzleloader, did you actually throw a scope on there to just try different types of powders or different bullets to determine which one shot the best, or what was your approach?
Yeah, I just kind of went old school. You know, I started, you know, at 50 yards and got my gun on. And then after that, I kind of played around with, like, the Hornady SSTs. They come in a 250 grain and a 300. And you know, for deer hunting, you know, you think of 350, you know, a 250 grain with 150 or 3 pellets, you know, which a lot of guys were using back in Montana, trying to shoot 200 yards at a mule deer, you know, across the canyon.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to make these like rifles, right? But they weren't. You know, some guys can get really accurate with their subs, but other states, you know, you could still use the 209s. I think you can still get there with some of the new technology. But with my gun, I kind of played around with the different. You know, I started with 100 grains of powder, amped it up to 125. That just wasn't doing it. And then I talked to a couple of guys that they said, well, try less. And less is sometimes better to start there and then move up. And so I went down to 90 grains, and boy, and I moved that over to the 300 grain bullet. And that 300 grain bullet and that 90, you don't think that 90 grains is enough to push that thing out, but it's so accurate, it's better than the 250 grain bullet. So it was just playing around. It was actually taking a lot of, you know, muzzleloader, sighting in muzzleloader is kind of a pain in the butt, because you have to, you know, with the new powders, you don't have to clean. Like in the old days with the 54 Hawkins and stuff, you had to soap them down and clean them out in the bathtub, and, you know, get everything clean, and then shoot them a couple times, and then try to get, you know, a good group and figure it out, and then clean them again. Well, with the new powders, I can, and the Sabbats, you know, I can go maybe 5 to 7 shots, and then I usually give it a good cleaning, and so I try to shoot it when it's clean, and I try to shoot it before I go out every year, just to make sure it's on, and just kind of try to keep up, you know, with making sure everything's just right before I head out.
So you're talking about technology as it weighs in here on muzzleloader, and you know, with With bolt-action rifles, misfires are a rarity unless, you reload like Tommy does, and once in a while you might screw things up and just, you have some difficulties there. But for the most part, it's pretty dependable. Talk, if you would, a little bit about the modernization and the evolution of the muzzleloader and how technology has lent its hand in kind of getting away from mishaps, and/or does weather still weigh in on opportunity for failure, especially over here on the wet side of the state? You were talking about the drought conditions over there, but how about for guys over here on this side that are going to be out in that inclement weather muzzleloading? Anything that they should be cautionary of?
Yeah, the old days, they tried to keep, things as dry as they could, with the flintlock stuff and the powder in the pan, and, all that.
All that good
the older
stuff.
technology.
Oh, yeah.
But we, with the newer, now that 209s are, allowed, and you don't have to have, they took away the exposed to the elements language, which allows you to have some of those break action muzzleloaders, I believe. So, things are a little bit weather tight. The disc, the little 209 discs that you use for the 209 primers are a little bit more weather tight than the musket caps. I always keep caps in my pocket, and I'm always changing them because, I've had, them just not go off or keep the powder, it just won't take the, if it's wet or humid out, or you're hunting mule deer in the fall or in the rainstorm, or, it happens, but it's basically just trying to make sure you got, you try to keep that as dry as possible when you're out there. But with the new technology, guys are able, like TC had a break action one that you just break it open, put the primer in. I mean, it was really sealed up, but the one I have with the Night Bighorn, it's got a pullback hammer, and it's exposed. It's got a 2 safety, which I really like, and I've never had it get too wet, to where over here, but I know I understand, over there on the west side when you're hunting Roosevelt's, down on the peninsula, or trying to find an elk down there out of Raymond or something. I know how wet it can be, and the newer musket caps, and my nipple actually comes back a little bit further for those musket caps, and that's why I like it, because it really seals it compared to like a number 11 or.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic, insightful content here. I mean, you really broke it down for folks that might be entertaining the idea of getting into muzzleloader. I know I certainly am on that path for next year. It's something I want to now take on, step into that realm. Tommy has expressed interest as well. So we may be tapping into your nugget a little bit more as we fine-tune our selection and direction we head with this whole thing. So can't thank you enough for taking a little time this evening, Eric. Good content as always. And don't be surprised when the phone rings, because I want to start talking into a little bit of fall walleye coming up with you. That's for sure.
Can I say one quick thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
One quick tip that the new Onyx app, that I use it all the time, but they now have a fire layer on that app, and it actually, the fires this year, were horrendous. They removed a lot, but when you guys are out scouting for elk areas, pay attention to where these fires are happening, because, kind of like mushroom pickers, they're looking for the right morel areas. Well, there's a few areas that burned this year that have never burned in a long time, and and they're in elk areas, so it's good to pay attention to, opportunities to scout in the future, some of those areas that might open up for elk, because what we found out on a lot of the areas up north is those elk like to move through that timber as freely as possible. And if they, they don't like roads, but they actually like, they don't like, a lot of deadfall either. So, the fire actually does enhance some of those areas. So, it's just kind of a cool layer tip on the Onyx app that they added. You got historic wildfires and then the active ones. So I've been paying attention to where some of those are at already.
Yeah.
So for next year.
Good point.
That is a good point. It's going to drive a lot of new growth too.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, Eric. Well, hey man, get a little rest now that you're back from your hunt, and get your ass back to work. So that's how that goes.
Okay.
Thanks for taking time, buddy. Yeah, we'll be in touch. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
See ya.
All right, Eric Braaten. He actually is like a land management and habitat guy for WDFW. Does phenomenal work with it. Yeah, he's really in tune with habitat and what's going on, especially over there on the east side in his area where he works. So you want to start talking scientific stuff with him and biology and things. He can go deep on you real quick. So anyway, always good information with him, and stay tuned because as we roll into later in the fall here and he starts fishing those cold waters for those walleye, those big walleye, we will definitely get him back here on the phone. So, all right, Tommy, we're going to jump out for a quick break and stick with us here. We come back, got a couple topics we want to tackle as we wind down and close out the show right here, Fish Out Northwest.
Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. Defiance boats feature a 21 to 22 degree dead rise at the transom and a large reverse chine for incredible handling and stability offshore. Defiance boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Defiance boats feature fuel-efficient hull designs with large fuel tank capacity so that you can have maximum fuel range for making long offshore runs completely safe and affordable. All Defiance boats come standard with self-bailing decks for improved safety while at sea. Defiance Boat offers all our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Defiance Boats for all your boating needs, and let us help you get out on the water.
Today, the need for quality private security services is at an all-time high. Contract Security Service provides day-to-day peace of mind as they protect people and property. Phoenix Protective Corporation strives for excellence. Above all, Phoenix security officers are managed by leaders trained to inspire and encourage greatness. Here at Phoenix, we provide service for multiple state and federal contracts, with service ranging from uniform, patrol, alarm monitoring, canine detection, executive protection, as well as investigative work. We here at Phoenix are looking for highly motivated individuals to apply. If you're a vet, retired or active, and would like to work with us, please apply.
Hey, welcome back, Fish Out Northwest. Duane England, Tommy Donlan. As we wind down and close out the show, mister, so a lot of good content tonight, man. A lot of good dialogue on the old texting information here. Appreciate you folks chiming in and questions, and we do our very best each and every week to answer them. So appreciate you hanging out. So one thing you'll notice out here in the Chehalis Basin, Tommy, if you are so inclined to fish any of this region out here, for example, is WDFW as of late this last summer, they initiated a ton of work on multiple rivers within this basin. We're talking the Satsop, Wainuchi, Skookumchuck, for good reason, okay? The survivability of smolt, albeit wild and/or released from the hatchery, is paramount for us to get decent numbers of returning adults. If we're not getting the smolt out of the rivers healthy and strong to be good swimmers once they hit the salt, our adult return is compromised even tenfold, right? So what's interesting is they put out a press release and some information, and also early summer, prior to them starting the work, to let you know certain sections of some of these rivers mentioned would be closed off for the summer because they needed during low water conditions to complete this work. Now we're talking about tiebacks and putting in huge barricades of natural wood products, from the forest. They're putting in collection points and shoring up shorelines. If persons don't understand the significance and importance of this, you have to understand each and every year these almost record high water events that we have come through and create so much devastation. They can carve out a new pathway along a farmer's field, and all that landmass, all that dirt and silt and everything that gets flushed into the river gets pushed on out. It covers and buries the gravel It covers and buries spawning habitat with mud and silt and things like that. So the fish that do come back, they have a hard time finding good, natural, clean gravel riverbeds to lay their eggs in. Okay?
Yeah.
It's like a vicious cycle. If we just allow it to continue to do this, we're going to end up with a river that predominantly wants to carve itself straight, right? Blow everything out of the way and carve itself straight. Pretty soon you have fast-moving water.
The whole way, nowhere to hide.
Nowhere to hide. No bends, no deep holes, no change in topography. It's just like, I mean, man-made canals and rivers do that just fine. I mean, they thought that's what, hey, we got to get the water out of here to prevent floods, right? We don't want Mother Nature doing that on her own. So to take the time to put in the woody debris, change the course of rivers in some regards, even up north, the Stillaguamish, they are rechanneling the river where it now will bypass the landslide from Oso.
Yeah.
There's another major project going on up north. Why? Because the silt runoff from the landslide mass continues to filter down into the river, impeding on the ability of salmon to return. What is one of the biggest constraining components in our northern Puget Sound fisheries in regards to Chinook opportunity? The Stillaguamish, right? If we don't get those numbers coming back, we're going to have mark select fisheries that we don't have full access to because the Stillaguamish component just is failing.
Right. Yep.
So when you complain about the fact that WDFW is spending way too much money on habitat restoration, where do they get this money from? And and I watched it on social media just blow up on some of these press releases, and I'm thinking, what's the benefit to bitching about it when the long-term goal here is to, yes, believe it or not, whether you believe it or not, we do need to get our native or natural spawn numbers, escapement numbers up. We need to have more fish hitting the gravel. Trust me, Tommy and I are huge advocates of hatchery production.
Yeah.
We're extremely happy that a number of our hatcheries are kicking out higher numbers of Chinook and coho and chum and fish that we want to see hitting the salt and feeding the orcas and all of that big picture, right? But we also are not dumb enough to just disregard the fact that we have to have good, healthy ecosystem in place to allow released smolt survivability in the rivers, natural or hatchery.
Well, and see, that's the thing. It's not just like the wild fish, right? Our hatchery smolt that get released, they have to go through the same environment, right? And it's just as unfriendly to them as it is to a natural broodstock fish out of that river system.
Well, they have to survive. They have to eat.
Right.
A lot of this is engineered to the point where, hey, if we build this out of large logs and root wads and rocks, and we anchor all this stuff in place, we're going to create this back eddy. We're going to create this area of soft water where fish can survive. They're going to tuck into the shaded areas. It's going to be cooler, right? The river's going to run cooler because it has areas of where the fish can seek out and hide. It also congregates bugs and aquatic insect life and bugs that land in the woody debris and lay their eggs and those types of things. So it's the entire package. It feeds the fish. It feeds the smolt. It feeds the fry. Survivability goes up. We have higher percentages of survivability in out-migrant smolt, albeit hatchery and or wild or natural spawn, and which bodes well with favorable ocean conditions. We can see a higher rate of return. So the money that's being spent, this is a huge project, aquatic species restoration plan. The monies were in fact enacted out of Congress. The money was garnered in 2019, set aside. I've talked to state representatives who have said, look, money's not the issue. This state loves to spend money, and if anybody's doubting that, just look at what's going on with our taxes and whatnot. So if I hear them allocating funds towards habitat restoration, towards orca program saving, towards hatchery builds, bringing hatcheries up to modernization, those types of things, I'm like, good. They need to pull that money from the monies that this government collects and be spending it on things like this to aid us in the future. If they don't do it now, when's it ever going to get done, right? So when I see millions upon millions of dollars being allocated for these projects, you'll never see me jumping on there going, what a waste of money, we just need more hatchery fish. That's not the end game here. That's not going to resolve the issue. So just some insight on that. Read up on this stuff. When WDFW, love them or hate them, get pissed at them, whatever. when they put that information out there, there's a lot of good information to draw from that to understand truly what's going on in some of these river basins. And when you have opportunity to get on some of these rivers and float by this stuff, and you look at it and you go, holy cow, look at that. I mean, it's impressive. So
absolutely,
and I think it's a positive.
Yep, they've addressed just by the numbers 12,700 feet of shoreline already.
Yeah,
and they've removed 288 acres of invasive plants.
Yeah,
yeah.
We've had a lot of issues with invasive species out here in the Chehalis Basin in particular, and so they're getting that stuff out of there because it serves no purpose, and they're replacing it with natural vegetation that is usually accustomed to this general basin, and definitely beneficial to all types of wildlife. So hats off to WDFW and actually to the legislation for allocating funds. More monies are coming, more projects are slated, and it all bodes well for future down the road. All right, with that, hey, we're going to bypass this next one, but jumping to the final here, I want to remind everybody that, hey, Tommy, you and I are now, podcasters.
We're podcasters.
We're podcasters.
How about that?
So yeah, you can catch our weekly podcast that is very in tune with everything that's going on. Released every Friday morning after our live show here. Thursday evening, we will stream it out there live. It shows up on about 6 or 8 different platforms and is obtainable. So now for all those that wanted us for the last couple of years to in fact have a podcast out there, you can listen to our content, our insightful dialogue here in studio, indoor interviews via phone or in studio with guests, and you'll find that on Apple Podcasts, Google, iHeart, Spotify, Stitcher, to name a few. So typically every Friday morning, if you search Fish Hunt Northwest, now that we're kind of in there for a few weeks, it's starting to populate a little easier. Give us a download on any of these platforms, and keep in touch with us, follow our content there. Also pay us a visit over at our webpage, www.fishhuntnw.com. Yep, check out the podcast. That's about all I got, man.
Yeah.
Huh?
Sounds good.
Anything else?
I'm ready to go hit the river again.
Yeah, well, I'm going tomorrow.
Oh, I can't do it.
Yeah, you got to work.
I got to work.
Drift boat tomorrow, and hopefully able to capture some great content. Try a few different things and presentation-wise, and kind of see what is going on. Weather's supposed to be conducive. We got some rain coming Saturday. Rain coming Saturday. And this is ideal, folks. This is what you really want to see as we get through our fall salmon season. We're talking fishing main stem rivers, indoor tributaries. We want those ups and downs, ups and downs. We don't want those tremendous 30,000 cubic feet per second spikes. Yeah. We want those nice little 1,000 to 1,500 foot bumps, drop back down for 3 or 4 days, another little 1,000 spike, up and down. You do that throughout the course of a season, the fish just keep coming. They just keep coming. And we don't have a 2-week window where we have high muddy conditions, unfishable, waiting for all the woody debris to wash away, and then finally we can get back to fishing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then it rains again.
Yeah. So look at that as a promising outcome. These little bumps of weather, if you look long range forecast, it looks pretty conducive to getting optimal time on the waters and putting fish in the box. So get out there and do that. Do just that. Get out this week. Get out through the weekend. Enjoy the weather. Get on the rivers. Post your photos. Get those kids out fishing. Post your photos up here. Fish Hunt Northwest on our social media. Hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, more so on Facebook and or YouTube. We're on all platforms. Go to our YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't. Help us build that platform as well. Tommy, been a kick in the pants tonight. Appreciate you joining in.
You bet.
As you do each and every week. All right, it's going to do us for us here at Fish Hunt Northwest. We'll see you guys next week, 6 p.m. right here, Thursday evening at the Fish Hunt Northwest studio.